What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Dom and Pop DC Sports Talk Plus podcast. This week, we are going to be talking all things Eagles preview, Monday Night Football divisional game. What more can you ask for? We're going to get into it. And of course, Che Cazz of the week, bada bets. You know where to find us. Check it out. Pop, how's it going, man? How you doing?
Doing good. Week 10. Crazy.
Week 10. Season flew by.
It is flying
by. It's also a much longer season than you think, like, as you're going through it. Like, I sent to the group chat after we lost to Minnesota. I was like, yep, that feels like that's the end of the season. And one of the guys sends back, he's like, hey, we could technically go 12-5. And I said, whoa, wait a second. I did the math, and I'm like, yeah, it's still early. As late as it feels with how much has happened for this team, it's still pretty early in the year, all things considered, and there's still a lot of football left to be played. But a lot to talk about today. I want to talk a little bit of ownership. I want to talk a little bit of Eagles pregame. I want to talk a little bit quarterback, because it wouldn't be an episode of this podcast if we didn't talk about the quarterback situation. It's got to be boring being like a Chiefs fan or a Bills fan or an Eagles fan, where it's just like, yeah, our quarterback's awesome. What else do we have to talk to? Right?
Yeah. But before we get started, let's just remind the people, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. If you're watching, it doesn't hurt. If you haven't subscribed yet, just subscribe. Like Joe Pesci said in Goodfellas, it's a sin. Got to do it. Come on.
Go. Hey.
Got to do it, Just subscribe. What's it hurt? So, thanks people, but can't wait to chop it up with my son here.
Yeah, couldn't have said it better myself, Pop. That was great. So, yes, please like, comment, subscribe, do all the good stuff. We got a few people that are regularly commenting. We appreciate you guys, and the more the merrier. Let's get some conversations going down there.
You don't have to always agree with us,
No.
We don't agree with each other.
If you want to get on every video,
wait till the quarterback conversation.
Yeah. If you want to like and subscribe and then get on every episode and comment Vafangul, please, by all means, come do it. Rack the numbers up. That's what we need. So, anyways, speaking of Vafangul, Dan Snyder, he's out of here. New owner situation, not official yet, but it's looking like it's going to happen. There's some Bezos, and Jay-Z is kind of the leading candidate right now for our ownership talk.
That's where all the buzz is.
A quick second, that's where all the buzz is. I'm just going to get it out here. I think having the richest man in the world on the team, generally not a bad thing in terms of resources and upgrades that could be made to facilities and ways to attract players. And I think also Jay-Z in a burgundy and gold suit on the sidelines, pretty badass, man. Greatest rapper of all time. Pretty sweet, pretty good way to attract
players. They said Matthew McConaughey is wanting to get involved in that group as well.
Kevin Durant.
Maybe Kevin Durant.
Man, I'm all for it.
We're going to be at the top of the league, baby.
It's awesome. Yeah, it is. when you talk about this franchise,
you're going to sign Lamar in free agency. I mean, it's just going to be rolling.
Yes, sir. We'll be here in number 8 jerseys. Oh, man, I might get a Lamar tattoo if we sign Lamar in free agency. Oh, man.
You have to go shirtless at the wedding.
I would
have number 8 over your pack.
Like,
it's a little bit inside, but
if I got that news, I would have to go jump in like a cold lake to make sure I was awake. And I can't swim. I would have to go in, just make sure I'm awake and I'm alive and I'm breathing, because that would be amazing. But you know what? Good segue there, Pop. I mean, obviously, anything's better than Dan. We're just happy to get him out of here. That's just kind of the headline of the week related to that. But Lamar Jackson would be a great quarterback for this team, but we don't have him. And you know who we have? Carson Wentz and Taylor Heineke. And you know what this situation reminds me of, frankly? two pretty different guys in terms of build. You know, Wentz is the big prototypical quarterback. Heineke's kind of a smaller, scrappier guy. Wentz a little more soft spoken. Heineke a little bit more out there, a little more fiery. Um, Wentz, big cannon of an arm. He's going to make his plays throwing the ball downfield. Heineke, less of an arm, more of a shifty guy. He's going to make his plays, getting outside of the pocket, running, scrambling, doing some of the stuff that Wentz used to do when he was younger, but is not as much of a part of his game anymore. Frankly, in terms of production on the field and results, it kind of reminds me of that Spider-Man meme where it's just three Spider-Mans pointing to each other because it's the same guy at the end of the day. We get the same results. And Pop, you know, you sent me these stats and I'm kind of looking at them and it's humbling. I mean, completion.
Yeah, it was interesting. Like I thought to myself, I don't know why the idea hit me, but I'm like, let's go. Let me just, I know stats aren't everything, but let's just look at the stats. And it was interesting to look at a lot of, common ground there for sure. But I don't know. You going to run through them?
Yeah. So completion percentage, we're looking at 62.1% Wentz, 63% Heineke. Same number there, basically. We're averaging.
Yeah, it's important to say, like, Heineke's had half the game. So
Yeah.
Wentz played 6, Heineke's played 3.
Yeah.
So you got to kind of extrapolate the Heineke stats a little bit.
Yeah, so that's why I'm kind of going to percentages and averages. We're averaging
Right.
0.4 difference. Wentz is averaging 6.4 per reception, whereas Heineke's averaging 6.8. Yards per game, we're looking at 20, almost 250-ish, 248.2 for Wentz, 209.7 for Heineke. Wentz obviously has that 75-yard bomb to De'Ami Brown as his season long. Heineke 49. And then, touchdown interception ratio, Wentz 10-6, Heineke 5-3.
And that one's amazing because if you double it,
it's exactly the same.
And ultimately that's a measure of production there, right?
Yeah. So at the end of the day, here's where it gets glaring for me is that sack number.
Yeah, it's alarming.
Wentz takes 23 sacks to Heineke's 6. And that is why I've been of the mindset this whole time that Taylor is not a better quarterback than Wentz. But in this offense, in this system, in this exact setup, if we put this thing in a vacuum, we're going to get better overall offensive production from Taylor. If you set up 100 quarterback drills in perfect weather, whatever, Wentz probably outscores Taylor by 30, 40 points. But in this situation we're in right now, the ball moves better with Taylor. And I think we've seen flashes of that, but we've also seen incredible offensive ineptitude.
I don't know. Saying the ball moves better with Taylor when the ball doesn't move much at all is hard to imagine. I think another telling stat for me though is attempts, because if you double Taylor's attempts, he would come up to 184 versus 232 for Wentz. So what does that tell you? That the balance in terms of run pass was not as good when Carson was playing as it is now with Taylor. And I think that's a factor. I think it's a factor in the sack numbers as well.
I would point you to one thing just to keep in mind with that is game script and is defensive production. I would point you to the 3 games that Taylor has played have all been close, one-score games. The running the football has not been eliminated from those games, and we've had good defensive production to allow the offense to try and establish the run, maintain time of possession, etc. We had the defense give up 22 points in the first half against the Detroit Lions. You pretty much got to come out and throw the whole second half. Same situation against the Eagles. Jacksonville was the same way.
So we know what happened, and not to kind of devolve down into a big rabbit hole of Wentz versus Heineke, which is sort of the topic. But once Carson's healthy, and I know a lot's going to come down to Eagles game, but let's just say, just for the sake of this argument, that the Eagles game is what we think it's going to be. Maybe that we keep it relatively close, but it's a solid loss. And now Carson's healthy. What do you do?
I If we keep it relatively close and it's a solid loss, which is just the most
But the Heineke performance is right where it's been.
well,
Just
right where it's been, meaning we make a really strong effort in the fourth quarter and we almost come back, or right where it's been, meaning he throws an interception at a key moment in the game and we
it's
lose
the
because of it.
same. It's the same as it's been. It's the mistakes with the good stuff. It's the many possessions back to back to back without any production.
Yeah.
It's the batted down balls. It's the scrambles and great completions every now and again. It's the same. It's what we've seen the first three games.
I maintain I see no reason for Carson Wentz to quarterback this football team again. I see no reason for it. Do I think that's what will happen? No, because I think ultimately, especially if Heineke comes out and, like you say, the production is the same. If he comes out and if he throws a couple key interceptions, he turns the ball over, he doesn't quite keep the offense moving throughout the entirety of the game, he's ignoring the checkdowns, etc. We're going to go back to Wentz because at the end of the day, Rivera, as he said, his words, he's the effing guy. He wanted to go get Wentz, and he's going to want to see him again, and he's going to want to
But what
say,
would you what would you do quickly?
I'd stick to Heineke, honestly.
Yeah. So for me, I think I'm not overly passionate about one way or the other, but the reason I go back to Wentz, I do think you're right. I do think the team's going to go back to Wentz, but I also think I think that as frustrated as we get with the coaching, I think the coaching's been a lot better for Taylor than it was for Wentz. I think the fact that we just kind of thought we had this shiny new car with all these bells and whistles being the weapons, and we could just roll it out and we could just keep dropping them back and not adjusting to the fact that the O line was just a sieve. And I think that what I'd like to see is based on this far into it and understanding what the rest of your team is like, the O line. I just still feel like, and Carson may be having a few games to kind of step back and watch and understand what might work and what doesn't. I just feel like the upside of the offense, if it can execute at the top level, is going to be better with Wentz than it is with Heineke. I think we're going to have to continue to win these 17-14 games through the rest of the season because it's just so limited. Unless the only other thing, which is it's going to be a hint to one of my keys to the game, is got to just turn Taylor loose.
Yep.
Like what they did at the beginning of last season is they started to mute him because I think they believed he was more than he actually is as a drop back quarterback or in standard quarterback play. And there was all the talk of you can't get injured, you can't be reckless, and they've kind of muted him to a degree. And at this point, to me, if you've got Wentz and Howell on the bench, stop worrying about him getting hurt. Maybe even stop worrying about him turning the ball over. Turn him loose.
Yep.
Let him be Taylor. Let him run. Let him run read option. Let him get out of the pocket. Let him try to make plays with his feet. That's the only way that kid's going to be effective.
Yep.
If you try to contain him and mute him, there's no way it's going to happen. And I think, going in against Philadelphia, but ultimately, I think I'm biding my time to see some Sammy Howell.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm at because I don't think Wentz is going to be on the roster next year, bar a miraculous
God forbid.
rebound, and I just don't see that happening.
God forbid.
Right? He's not going to be in a roster. They're not going to pay him that money to come back. And plus, new ownership, blah, blah, blah. It's just not happening. And I don't want Taylor Heineke on the roster again next year. I just don't. I want them both gone, and I just want to figure out. You brought up a good take, like a Jacoby Brissett or somebody along that line. Solid vet that could outperform both of these guys, quite frankly, even though they may not be that great. And we got to trade up. We got to get a quarterback in the draft, right?
Yeah.
So sorry. I'm shaking the table, right?
He's
You know,
passionate, man. I was just trying
yeah.
to
But
send you a little discreet message, be like, "Yo, chill on that."
that's kind of where I'm at.
I hear
I
you.
think we've
I think
you know
the main difference, just to sum it up, and then we'll get to our keys. The main difference between our perspectives, I think, is you still have faith that Wentz can be more than what he's shown us, and I'm pretty confident that Wentz just is what we've seen, and what we've seen sucks. Like, I think that's just kind of
I just
the big
it's
disparity there. Just to sum it up.
just, and to sum up my thoughts on it is I just look at it logically and I say to myself, new offense, poor coaching early in the season. It takes time for that adjustment to be made for a player in a new offense, any player, and playing behind that offensive line. I just don't feel like there's enough there to clearly say that he's not the better quarterback, at least not to say he's not the better quarterback than Taylor Heineke. That's how I feel. Now that might be a very low bar
Yeah.
as far as a comparison, but that's the logic that I'm using. Now it may not work out, but I think we've got to see it through unless we're ready to just pull the trigger and go to Hal, which, with Hal, you got to just trust what the coaches are seeing. And unfortunately, this coaching staff, or fortunately, however you want to put it, is in a position where what they need more than anything is wins. They got to convince new ownership that, I should stick around. I should be that bridge for you to the future.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, you want to get to more wins. And I think that's what they're going to be thinking about. And yeah, we'll see.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
it's
we'll
tricky. I
see.
mean, looking at the playoff race, we're 4-5 right now. The 7th seed is the San Francisco 49ers that are 4-4, and then you have the Giants 6-2, Cowboys 6-2 for those other two wild card spots. I don't know who we think we're kidding, but we're fans of the team, so we're going to root for them to hope that we can outplace the San Francisco 49ers for that 7th wild card spot, I guess. But yeah, it's ultimately just going to come down to mindset of the coaches, and I think the biggest thing that's going to affect all of this is how Heineke plays tomorrow night, or excuse me, Monday night. That's really what it's going to come down to. So, without further ado, not a ton to talk about here. We're going to play the best team in the NFL, division rival at their stadium. Eesh. On prime
Yeah, I
time,
think everybody knows plenty about the Eagles, especially after we played them. But
it can't be worse than
uh,
it was last game.
Hurts, AJ Brown, great running game, really great defense. They're just rolling.
Like I said, I think the good news is it can't be worse than what we saw in week 3. And I think we have a lot of reason to believe that it can be better. I mean, hell, we played the Super Bowl champions, the closest we ever played them with Taylor Heineke. That's something, right? Heineke's first game was against Tampa, who ended up going on to just basically dominate everybody for the rest of that playoff run and win the Super Bowl. So maybe we get primetime Taylor back out there. I mean, who knows? But Pop, you got your keys ready. I say we just get right into it. No sense in highlighting much else. Go for it.
It's a perfect lead into my keys. I think I said it earlier. Primetime Taylor, turn Taylor loose.
Yep.
Just turn him loose. Let him ball. Let him use his legs and get outside the pocket and do what he does well. We got to contain Hurts. I think I used the same key as last time, but I actually did a really good job defensively doing that in the last game.
Yep.
And the third one, I know you're going to like this, Dominic, coaching, right? Coaching, two main things: the offensive game plan and coaching decisions that tie to clock management. When to use a challenge flag, when to go for 4th and 1, all of those things. Don't burn all your timeouts in the second half. I think those are my keys. Those are the 3 keys.
Yeah.
For me.
You know what, Ron, if you're listening, if there's a substitution malfunction, just tell John Allen to just run forward and hit the offensive lineman. Just get an encroachment penalty. Get a too many men on the field penalty. Don't burn a freaking timeout in a 1-score game off some substitution BS, and certainly don't go challenge some crazy stuff. Love your keys. That's great. For me, I'm kind of doing these off the dome here. I'm going to roll with you. Number 1 is make Taylor Heineke great again. Let that boy ball. We just looked at the stats. Him and Wentz have the same exact touchdown to interception ratio. So this notion of he's not careful with the football, well, he's as careful as any of our options are going to be. So just let him be great. Don't limit his upside. Let the kid run. That's number one. Number two, Dameon Pierce ran for 140 yards on this team with the Houston Texans. God damn it. Let Antonio Gibson play football. Let him run the ball. 20 carries for Antonio Gibson. That's what I want to see. That's our only shot at winning this game, is that Gibson goes off. Number three, let's get to Jalen Hurts. I don't care about containing him, letting him run, whatever. Put some hits on Jalen Hurts. Let's get to him. We have the talent on the defensive line that very few teams do in the NFL. We've been having success blitzing. Jamin Davis has come into his own. Let's get to Jalen Hurts. So again, for my own speed and editing purposes, I'll quickly recap here. Number one, let Taylor Heineke loose. Number two, let Antonio Gibson loose. And number three, pressure Jalen Hurts. Those are my three keys.
Yeah, and I think you talk about how much worse can it get than the last game. I mean, I actually thought 24-8, and I'm pretty sure that there were some I don't remember play by play in the game. I'm not that great memory wise, but I don't know that some of those points didn't come from I mean,
it was close.
Wasn't there a defensive touchdown or
no? So it was close in the first quarter, and then
or a turnover that kind of led to an easy touchdown or something like that.
It was close in the first quarter, and then Hurts threw a bomb to Devonta Smith, who was actually out of bounds, was not a catch. Ron Rivera did not get the challenge flag out in time, and then they scored a touchdown off that drive. And then, I believe there was a sack fumble on Wentz within the red zone, and then A.J. Brown went for a touchdown. They basically exploded for 24 points in the second quarter, and that was all they scored. So, I mean, they let off the gas in the second half of that game. That's just what happened. But there was also like 9 sacks, something crazy like that in that game. And Taylor will be moving. So
the offense got obliterated. Yeah. The offense got obliterated. But I think I guess the point I was trying to make is I think it was the first sign of seeing the defense play better and seeing the defense turn things around, especially with, you didn't see Hurts really use his legs very much, and they contained him. And there were a few big plays in there, but generally, he wasn't, dicing him up like you normally see him do.
Not with his legs, just with his arm instead that week.
So I think, we're going to get into it. It's going to have to be one of the games we pick because it's a Monday night game. But I think they're going to keep it more competitive, than we might think. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I wouldn't go so far as to call it a win.
I told you when I got off the podcast last week, we usually end up talking more football after we hang up. I said, you're going to call me crazy. I said, but next week is going to be close, and they're going to break our hearts. It's going to be just close enough that we think we have a chance, and we're going to be coming away from the game talking about, look how we competed. And at the end of the day, the better team is going to win, which is going to be the Eagles. But what better transition? No, we'll do our bada bets later. Let's have some fun first. Too much negativity here. Let's get into our Che Cazz of the week. And man, were there some funny clips floating around Twitter. Pop picked one. I picked one. Let's get into yours first, Pop. I love this Che Cazz. It's so good.
Yeah, and again, Dominic's editing skill, he'll put the video over top. But Mike Leach, I think,
awesome.
Not only the video of Mike Leach, who is the Mississippi State head coach, who was frustrated at the game this past weekend, but also his quotes. Now, again, I'm going to say these quotes are not the responsibility of Dom and Pop show, but Mike Leach has never been at a loss for words. And I guess, they ended up beating Auburn. It's a pretty doggone good win for Mississippi State. But he decided he had enough of his wide receivers. He thought that they were just not into the game, both in their performance on the field, but also how they were acting, off the field instead of being into it, rooting their teammates on. They were kind of lounging in their chairs. And so Mike Leach just casually walks up. Of course, he dresses down his wide receiver group, and he takes, and I guess instead of a bench, they had folding chairs, and he just calmly takes each of the folding chairs, folds them up, and tosses them on the ground so his receivers cannot sit for the rest of the game.
Funny.
And I explained what part of his quote was explaining why he did it, which is that he felt they were lounging around and not rooting their teammates on, and they weren't playing very well on the field. But this is the the crazy part of the quote coming up, and Leach is just he's just a wild man. It's just funny. He's just talking about how players are just lounging around, like they're hanging out with their girlfriends. I mean, it's just so funny. He's crazy. Here it is. He says, I'll get in trouble for this, I'm certain. But we're, instead of playing hard and getting a first down and getting a play, you want to sit behind a shady tree, eat a fish sandwich, and drink a lemonade with your fat little girlfriend. It's so wrong. Oh, man.
It's just like he said, the imagery. Like, he's painting a picture for you with his words. This dude's a maniac.
So, like I said, no reflection of the views of the Don Pop show. But, he might get in trouble for that. I guess he didn't get in trouble for that. But in the end, they pulled out a 39-33 victory in overtime. So, man, crazy man.
Crazy man. Speaking of crazy man, I had to see Adam Schefter with his shirt off on my timeline. And that is another just massive Che Cazz to me. I mean, here's the thing, right? Kirk Cousins, he's famous for it at this point. Everybody's seen it. It was in the thumbnail last week. He's just a total dweeb. And you know what? You like him or you don't. He's leaning into it at this point, and he's playing it up. He's playing up the corny, goofy white boy role. And he's in these videos with these sunglasses on and the chains on, and he's dancing. I hate that it came at the hands of our team, and goddamn do I hate that he's not our quarterback anymore. But it's funny. It is. And it's genuinely funny, and it's a guy who's pumping up his 7-1 team.
It pisses me off.
I know it pisses you off, but then you got Adam Schefter, who is just, when you want to talk about a cornball, as corny as they come. And this guy, he's out there impersonating him. He's got chains on. He's got his shirt off on the Monday Night Football broadcast. I had to do a double take. I was like, what the hell am I looking at? What has he done? What did Adam Schefter do to earn the chains? Kirk is captaining a 7-1 football team. Schefter is just incorrectly predicting Tom Brady's retirement. Come on now. Get Cazz to that. I thought that was it was funny, and obviously it's a joke, whatever. But I don't want to see Adam Schefter shirtless. Come on. Just get that off my please. I don't want to see that, man. Not my thing.
Yeah, Che Cazz.
The two funny Che Cazzes this week.
Well, I just made the whole Kirk coming back thing, to be honest with you, it wasn't too much of a factor with me. Although at the beginning of the season, I was like, I hope we beat his ass. Yeah. But I wasn't really that much focused on, that situation. But the fact that we just gave away that game, and then you see that, it was like, that burned
hurts.
Me.
And especially for me, everybody knows on this podcast how I feel about some KOC. I was more hurt about O'Connell coming back and just out coaching us than I was about Kirk. But we've already talked enough about that game. Huh?
Did he though?
Yeah.
I mean, the decisions were bad, but in some cases to not put time on the clock. But
hey, like I said,
there was some poor play, right? You got three players running wide open, and you throw it to them. You can't put that on coaching.
Like I said, we already we talked about that game enough. I don't want to get back.
I think Jack Del Rio did a pretty good job coaching against KOC.
Well,
in that game,
there's two other phases of the ball, unfortunately, but
that didn't work out. One other phase of the ball didn't work out.
And with that, let's get into our bada bets. I think we've talked enough about that Vikings game. I don't want to keep talking about it, but Uh, you know, Pop 3-1 with a push. I was 2-2 with a push. So Pop is now 19-15, and I'm still 17-17 riding at 500.
So speaking of bending the rules, which I overruled him, Dominic wanted to count that push in the San Francisco game as a win, but I couldn't do
I'll
it.
send the receipts here. You texted me back. You said I like how you think. So I thought that was how that was going down, because
We
my
don't.
thought was, when you make a parlay and you get a push, it doesn't break your parlay. It cuts
But
your
we're not
parlay in
betting as
half.
parlays. We're keeping track of our records. We're not doing parlays.
I was fine with the push, but whatever. Pop is 19-15-1. I'm 17-17-1. So week 9, that was basically how that one went. Both lost. The Texans covered on the points. Seahawks, Cardinals, we won that one. Rams, Bucks, that was the push right there. And then Titans, Chiefs, I lost. Pop got that one. He took the points. Mahomes, Magic still got the win. And then Ravens, Saints, we both won that one. So week 10. Pop has picked these games. I have not even looked at them yet, but here we go. Thursday night, Falcons -3 at the Panthers. Pop?
What a stinker.
Yeah,
What a
that's the
stinker.
dud.
I'll go Falcons.
You know what? Panthers at home. And Baker took back over. I'm going Falcons too. Never mind. Excuse me. I'll go Falcons there, unless they put PJ Walker in. Sunday, Seahawks at Bucks in Germany.
That's
Bucks
right.
are 2.5-point favorites.
You know I'm going with my Hawks.
Yeah.
Rolling with my Hawks.
Yeah, I'm rolling with your Hawks too. Yeah, it's neutral site in Germany. Let's go for Seattle there. Sunday, Vikings at Bills. Bills are 5.5-point favorites.
I don't think Kirk's going to be wearing his chain and going shirtless after this one. I'm going Bills. They end the run.
I'm going with the Vikings.
Because they were impressive against us.
I'm taking Minnesota. You're giving them 5.5 points. That is the third best team at the NFL at this point.
Bills at home.
Bills at home. Josh Allen, elbow injury, questionable. So I'm taking the Vikings, 5.5 points. I'll take that all day. Bills also just lost to the Jets. So Sunday night, Chargers at 49ers. 7-point favorites, 49ers. What do you like, Pop?
Chargers. Too many points.
Chargers don't have any wide receivers, so I'm going 49ers there. I'll take the points. Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, both still hurt. Monday night, Commanders at Eagles. Eagles are 11-point favorites. Commanders fans, like I said, take your ladies out to a nice dinner this night. Make sure there's no TVs at the bar. Just get your mind off it. Anyways, Pop, what do you like?
I'm going with the Commanders. I think we're going to keep it closer than that. I do think the Eagles will win, but Commanders are going to cover.
Yeah, 11 is tough. I've already picked against you twice. I don't want to do it a third time, and I will go for the homer pick, and I will take the Commanders there as well, just because I don't want to have to. Yeah, I said it on the pod. I think I edited it out in the episode. I said it, but I want to really put it down here for everybody to understand. I'm going to put this at the beginning of the short. The emotional hedge is for nerds, losers, and wimps. We don't believe in the emotional hedge here at the Dom and Pop DC Sports Talk Plus podcast. We're betting on the Commanders, damn it. And we're going to regret it, but we're betting on the Commanders. That's it. I got to get that off my chest. Said what I needed to say. It didn't make the cut last time I said it. I don't believe in the emotional hedge.
You're the editor, so.
Well, yeah, it's we had to end up redoing it. There was like some noise or something happened during the segment, so the whole thing got redone. There's a little behind the scenes for you guys there. Believe it or not, we do edit from time to time. But man, any closing thoughts from you, Pop? I think we covered it. Adam Schefter, please keep your shirt on this week, for the love of God. Hashtag Schefter shirt on, please. And
the Bills are gonna shut Kirk up and keep that shirt on for him.
We'll see. I think 5.5 points is too much. That's why I bet on it. It's okay. We're gonna close the gap this week. We're gonna close the gap.
Hey,
But
19-15.
anyways, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I've been Dom.
This is Pop.
And thanks for another great week, guys.